Well, it never rains, it's always pouring for Qantas. You can add the threat of industrial action to the other problems it faces, like surging oil prices and the impact of extreme weather. Qantas chief Alan Joyce tore into the unions today, accusing them of launching kamikaze industrial action while the airline faces its biggest threat since the financial crisis in higher oil prices. I spoke to him earlier. Alan Joyce, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Phil. Good to be here.
Well, another hike in the fuel levy. Will this be the last for some time?
This still will not recover any more than 50% of the increases in fuel costs that are going to hit the organisation next year. So we still have to keep this under review. We still have a long way to go before we recover the full costs of the fuel increases.
So there could be more to come?
Yes, we're going to keep an eye on the demand, and we're going to see, if these increases are maintained. We see what our competition continues to do. And, of course, our competition are in a worse position than Qantas. Some of our competitors are losing a lot of money at the moment, and there's a real imperative for them to also increase fuel charges and airfares to recover the costs of fuel.
You say your competitors are in a worse position, but you've raised your levy a number of times in the space of a few months. Doesn't that suggest that there's something seriously wrong with your own hedging policies?
No, the hedging policies are never there in order for us to actually beat what's happening on the market. The way we work on hedging is we give ourselves a hedging position going forward to give us time to adapt and time to a change. And it's very clear from a lot of industry reports that Qantas is one of the best airlines of the world at hedging. Now, our hedging position protects us fully until the end of June. Then between July and September, our hedging position is around the 70% mark. Between October and the end of the year, that drops down to 40%. That's probably one of the best hedging profiles of any airline. But that still means that the organisation has to act, because it only gives you a certain minimum protection and allowing you to adapt to those circumstances. And that's the way we've always viewed hedging. Our competitors have a worse hedging position, and our competitors are more exposed to fuel prices, so it's in their interest to continue to move fuel prices up because their losses are more extreme.
There's been speculation that because of the hits you've taken on your business in Queensland and Japan, that Jetstar's in line for a second half loss. Is that the case?
Well, Jetstar is performing very well in the current circumstances, and we won't until the end of the year give any details on the performance of each of the segments. But all I can say is that I'm still very comfortable with the performance of Jetstar, and Jetstar is holding up very well given the implications of Japan and Christchurch and the fuel prices, and it still continues to be one of our best performing segments.
But is it going to make a profit in the second half?
All I can say is that we're still continuing to be very happy with the performance of Jetstar, and I'll ask people to wait until we report the full year results at the end of the year. But people will see that Jetstar continues to be one of the best performing segments in the Qantas Group.
Now, you've got a number of industrial disputes running at the moment. Aircraft engineers could go on strike as soon as next month. Is it likely to come to that?
Having the threat of industrial action is throwing oil on the fire. The fuel crisis that we have at the moment is a severe threat to the airline. It's the biggest threat that we've had since the global financial crisis. And this threat of industrial action is not going to do anything for job security. In fact, it's anti-job security. And we hope that the unions will realise sense, and that sense will prevail, and we can negotiate a sensible agreement for all parties.
Well, as I understand it, the engineers want assurances that the heavy maintenance work on the big A380s and Boeing 787s won't take place offshore. Can you give them those assurances?
No, we can't, and we've said that because where we are with the agreements and the discussions is that these aircraft, there's long lead times before they're going to get to a critical mass in terms of size in order for the decision to be made about where the maintenance is going to be done. So for the 787s, as an example, the big heavy maintenance checks are not due for 10 to 12 years after the aircraft arrives. We don't get the aircraft until 2012. So it's completely improper. It's completely nonsensical for any business to make commitments for activities that is that far out, given the volatility that we have and the flexibility that we need in the business.
But the engineers say that means as the A380s and 787s replace the other big planes, those heavy maintenance jobs will be steadily moved offshore. Is that not the case?
Well, you know, the fleet, things do change in the organisation, and what we are doing is managing new aircraft are coming into our operation, but we are actually growing the fleet. So there are more aircraft. Qantas today is a lot bigger than it was 10 years ago. And we're still investing in engineering in Australia. We built a big hangar in Brisbane. We've recruited now and have over 380 apprentices across our organisation. These are not the signals of an organisation that is planning to ramp down its maintenance infrastructure and its maintenance capability in this country. What we want to do is actually grow our employment base. We want to have a more successful Qantas, but we have to have a Qantas that is efficient. We have to have a Qantas that actually can compete against the onslaught from the international carriers coming in. And the best way that the engineers and pilots can guarantee their job security is to help us, the management, have an efficient Qantas that can compete against these Middle Eastern and Asian carriers. And if we can grow our employment, increase the amount of maintenance people that we have in Australia. That's what I want to do. That's what the company wants to do. And we're very committed to try and build that up.